Hello, I'm Bood and welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks for joining me. Your view is the most important thing, but if you're feeling generous, hit that thumbs up, get involved in the comments, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell and you'll never miss anything I do. But yeah, I am back. Now, I did intend on bringing out another video with Greeno, but we logistically couldn't make it. So I was left like, oh shit, I'm usually planning, usually thinking ahead, and I had a couple of days with absolutely nothing to do football manager wise. Now, as much as I love the American Premier League, it was quite tough to put together, but it's been a long time since I've delved into the editor that much, and to be honest with you, I kind of got, not the bug back, but you start to remember where things are, and the more you do something, the better at it and the quicker you get. So I thought, why not make another database? And I was thinking about it, but I was inspired by one of you guys in the comments to have a go at Australia. Now, it's a bit of a watered down version of the American Premier League, but I still think it could be fun, and that's why I like to do this. I like to give you guys something, especially at this time of year, that's different, that you can just download and play, maybe have a bit of fun with. But what I will say is, the title, it's a bit misleading, because it isn't just the Australian Super League, the ASL, that's what I'm going for with this one. No, New Zealand will be taking part. So, let's get into it. And we'll start right here on Australia's national page. Now, I've given them a little bit of a rep boost. I've also, because just like America, soccer and football isn't their number one sport, so it's now become a priority. I've improved the youth rating, so hopefully good young Australian youngsters are going to come through the ranks, which should be really, really cool. Now, you may or may not know, but Australia don't play in Oceania anymore. They play their continental football in Asia. Now, there's certain rules with squads in it in Asian continental football, and I couldn't find it to change it. I couldn't hard code it or anything. So what I have done is I've changed it so when you play in Australia, it only takes 1 year to get nationality. So it might help down the line, hopefully, especially with kids coming through. If they're not Australian, they only have to play in the youth team for a year, and then they can become nationalised. It might just help a little bit with the homegrown rule. I have jumped into the future, and teams seem to do okay, better than they do now, so I don't know if it'll be too much of an issue. I've also created Australia their own new super awesome national stadium in the capital. Yeah, so there you go, cup finals and everything will be played right here. So let's just get straight to the Australian Super League. Now, the old league had 12 teams in it, and one of those teams isn't Australian. They are in fact from New Zealand, and that is Wellington Phoenix. So it left me with 11 Australian teams. So I just took 10 of the best teams from New Zealand and brought them over to Australia, giving me a 22-man league. Right, now, another thing that's hard-coded is, and there's articles on this, not just Football Manager, but Wellington Phoenix, because they are still technically a New Zealand team, if they win the league in Australia in real life or anything, they can't play in the Champions League. Right? So, when I transferred 10 teams over from New Zealand, none of them could do and go and play in the Champions League. Or there's another continental competition as well. We'll have a look at that in a bit. Which is rubbish. You don't want to play this and be one of the New Zealand teams and win the league and that's it. You want to go and play in the Asian Champions League like the Australian teams would. So, I've had to create kind of a little loophole. Because, you know, when you think of England, you've got Cardiff and Swansea, you can change it. So they're still based in Wales, but they're playing in England, but they're still on the same continent, so it don't matter. This really did matter. So we're going to pretend, story-wise, and I'll show you in a minute, just imagine like a little loophole they found in the government. So they're technically registered in Australia, but they're still going to be in New Zealand. But it's opened it up. So every single team in the Australian Super League, if they win it or qualify, can go and play continental football against the Asian teams, because there's a lot more competition in there. So it should be okay, I hope. Now, I've added my own little bit of history, just to give it some depth. I did this kind of with the American Premier League. So there's a little bit of history, just gets everything rolling, gets the wheels greased, as I always say. I'm going to look through the clubs in a second. I just want to mention the stadiums. I didn't really have to do anything. There weren't loads of stadiums. I think I've unlocked Melbourne Cricket Ground because that's in the game. But I'm not really had to build. I'm not built any. I just expanded capacities due to the size of the club. So, and I've upgraded them, as in they've got digital ad boards and undercell heating, although they probably don't need that in Australia because it's fucking boiling. Onto the rules for the Australian Super League. So money's pretty good. Just like the American Premier League, you're going to get 80 million a year in TV money. You can see you get Champions League spaces here. Now, you'll notice it's Champions League preliminary round, because in real life, Australia's been cut. They get one place in the Champions League now. In real life, I think. And it's a qualifier. So, it starts off average, but like I said, I've tested it, I've gone into the future, this gets better. More teams will get in the Champions League. You can also see there's the AFC Cup, which I think is similar to like a Europa League. It's like a second level down. So that does improve, because obviously this league, I've increased its rep. It's one of the best leagues in the world rep wise, and the teams have had the rep increased, but the players aren't there yet. It's going to take a season or two for these players to start flooding in, the money to get spent. But no, the prize money does go down. It goes down quite a bit, down towards the bottom. I'll look at that in a sec though. 22 teams, 42 games. I've gone different with the subs. In America, you could name 12 subs and use 6, because it's America, they like to change a lot. I've just gone to 11 subs, 5 used on this. Pretty standard really. Got VAR, got goal line technology. I've gone for the same disciplinary bans as the APL, same with the transfer window. This is a hard code, it's no issue. You know, certain players have to have at least that minimum wage, and I'm sure they'll have more than that. Now, what I have done as well with this compared to the American Premier League is I've gone into a bit more depth with club reps, finances, a bit more broken down, so you've got like a real small group at the top, and then each team's got a little bit less in rep, whereas a group to off a bit more in America. And I think a couple of teams at the top might start with 500 million, but if you're a team that's repped at the bottom, you might only have 150. Still a good amount of money, don't get me wrong, because I want these leagues to be fun. I want you to be able to go and spend some money, whatever level, improve your team, because you definitely need to, because the quality isn't great in Australia. Now, what I have done is I've brought the big hitters to start us off. Unlike the American Premier League, where I used a lot of managers that were unemployed and I might have stole the odd one, in this one, we're coming in with some big guns, starting with the greatest of all time. Again, he's back. One season he'll do, then he retire. It's Alex Ferguson at Adelaide United. They're playing at the Cooper Stadium. As you can see, I've just increased capacity. Now, with the kits as well, I wanted them to match. There was some already in the game, some aren't. Obviously, New Zealand kits. There's some of the New Zealand kits, right? Even if you downloaded them, wouldn't work because they're not even in the editor. So I've changed all that. Some might be last year's, some might be this year's. I've changed some colours as well because I preferred the third kit to the away kit. So I've made some changes. I've brought some logos in as well because the logos weren't on, not all of them. So there will be a graphics pack down below for you. We've got Auckland City with Jose Mourinho. Now you might notice as well, I've tried to keep season tickets and ticket prices the same. Season ticket holders will be different. Different size clubs, different amount of fans. Auckland United, I like them. Bit of a LAFC vibe going on. Birkenhead United, I had to put Rafa there. Brisbane Roar with Julian Nagelsmann. Central Coast Mariners, Mr. Napoli himself is the manager there. Christchurch United, I've got Manuel Pellegrini. I'm not 100% sure, and I'll say this, because I'm a big Dune movie fan. I love Dune, I love the books. Is it Dune Din or Dunedin City Royals? There's no sponsor on them kits, but this is a club, right? In the editor, the away kit is in it. And if you don't have any of the graphics set up within the editor, it don't matter what you put on, you won't get anything. So I had to change all that. But I did find the kits, I quite like the fact they don't have a sponsor. Don't like Louis van Gaal though. Hamilton Wanderers, check them out. Macarthur FC. Got Melbourne City, and because they're kind of like Man City, I've put Pep there. Melbourne Victory, because I love Victory and I'm a United fan. Don't know what I'm talking about. They've got Eric Ten Hag. Napier City Rovers with Will Still. I put him in the APL. He's only young. I like his story. He's coming here as well. Nelson Suburbs. I might be a Man United fan, but I do like Marcelo Bielsa. I like watching his leads. I know. So he's having another crack at it as well. Newcastle United Jets. If you're a Geordie, why not give these guys a go? Perth Glory. I do like a purple kit. Perth Rectangular Stadium, whatever that is. Sydney FC with Thomas Tuchel as their manager. Next up is Wellington Olympic, a New Zealand team. We of course have the famous, awesome, I definitely want to be them, Wellington Phoenix, black and yellow. Oh, it's a winner for me every time. Black and yellow and pink, stuff like that. And that away kit, I love it. I might change that to be that because I liked it so much. Western Suburbs FC. They're from Wellington as well. Western Sydney Warriors. That home kit, I think, was originally the third kit from maybe last year, but it's awesome. So I've changed it. Got Western United. Carlo Ancelotti. Great logo and kit, actually. That if I play this, it's got to be Wellington Phoenix or Western United for me. So let's go back to Wellington Phoenix. So the number one New Zealand team who do play in Australia. So what I've had to do is create new cities, base them in Australia. But I've named them after their original cities and put in a bracket next to them NZ. So it's, just think of that as the office. They're still playing in Wellington in New Zealand, but they're registered through an office in Australia, which is a little loophole into the Champions League because it just opens it up. None of them could qualify in any way, and it even states it in the rules. So that all disappeared, and things have just been smoother ever since. So I'm really happy. Now, while we're on this page, what else I've done, which I didn't do with the APL, is I've created every single of the 22 teams their very own youth complex training ground. It's all set up for your under 21s and under 18s as their stadium as well. 10,000 capacity, state-of-the-art little training complex. So you can see it's called the Wellington Phoenix Complex in Wellington, New Zealand. Yeah, everything like that is the same. When it comes to commercial income, I think that's the same. But obviously the teams, where it's going to be different is that each team's starting with a different amount of money. They're going to make different amounts of money. There's teams that are going to finish out the league and get more money. So, you know, there's a good range, I think, even though it is only a one league system. A, because of time, and B, because I just like the idea. There's not a lot of depth in the rest of the countries. There's some teams, but it would take ages with graphics. Now, you may or may not know, but I'm going on holiday and I've thought about doing some extras. So for this, if I've got the time on my little balcony in France with a glass of wine and some French cheese, right, I am thinking maybe can I create a second league with a lower level league cup for them and add that into it and bring that out at a later stage maybe. The APL, I am thinking about a third tier and a lower level cup as well. It's all timing. I'm on holiday. I'll see if I can be asked. I might get around to it eventually. So that's one idea. Next up, we've got the Australian FA Cup. Keeping the name simple on this one. It's just an FA Cup for all 22 teams. Starts later on in the season. Because there's only one cup, every round's 2 legs until the final, which is 1 leg and will be played at the National Stadium. Good prize money. If we have a look right here, if you win the first round, you get $1 million, you get $250. If you're a loser, you go on to the second round, you get $2.5 million, and you get $500,000 if you lose. Quarter final, you can get some good cash. I like this, so it's this time of year for fun. Do you know what I mean? $5 million is that for the quarters, I think. Semis, you'll get 10 and 2.5 if you lose, and if you get to the final, you get a nice $20 million. So if you're super successful, you want that money though. You won't be spending it, don't you? But that's pretty much it. Normal FA Cup, 2 legs, 1 in the final. Boom. And then we've got the Community Shield, the Super Cup. You'll get 10 million if you win that. I think it's 2.5, yep, if you lose. And that's standard. That'll be at the start of the season. Like I said, I've kind of copied the dates because they work the best. Now, there is one thing though. The AFC Champions League, the Asian Champions League, I don't know if they've changed in the schedule. That first season, the dates are a bit different. But once you get into like the second and third season and carrying on, then it switches to more European. So it's going to be like a European league. You'll have your summer break. If you're in the Super Cup, the Community Shield, you'll play that. Season will start and then you start your group stage in the Champions League. But that doesn't really happen in the first season. That's not my fault. I think there's going to be a scheduling change. So I've planned it to fit in for the long term, if you know what I mean. And then you'll have the rest of it in the back end. So it's more European, really, I think. So it does work. But that first season is just going to be about building a squad anyway. Just get through it. And then the second season, things start to settle in a little bit better. But yeah, the AFC Champions League, now I wanted this to be a bit more competitive. So, you know, you got all the countries from like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, you've got China and so on. So I've given all them a little bit of extra money continually in total commercial income. Not massive, but a good amount. So hopefully they can stay competitive, keep the whole competition competitive for you, just in case, you know, you build a super team. But then it's all going to matter on foreigner rules and so on. So it might not be as easy as you think to win the big one. And of course is this that I always forget about. Now you get a place in this if you win the cup. It puts you in this, not the Champions League. I don't know why. So, you know, you could be a lowly team, you're going to go to cup run, you win it and get into the AFC Cup. And I always forget about this. It exists. but I totally forgot about it. But there you go, you've got 2 continental competitions you can go for. Now, again, it's hard to get the league and the cups for the youth teams working properly, so I always prefer having the league. So it's dead simple. There's a 22 team under 21s league, and you've got an under 18s league. Now, in real life, a lot of these teams, not all of them, I'd like the odd B team playing here and there. It's all random. I've cleared all that. I've cleared a lot of the dead wood stuff that's involved with Australia. Just kept it nice and simple. The clubs are still out there. They're not really in the league anymore. No lower level leagues. Like I said, I might add another bit to it. I might add another bit to the American Premier League because I'm back in the groove now. It's like that. I've not really got to delve into the editor for a long time. I've been having fun. And it's quite a graft, do you know what I mean? But once you're going through that American Premier League, just you remember where things are, so you're not searching, you're not taking your time. It was more like boom, 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 boom. I had all my notes written down from the Premier League, so I could just kind of copy them and just go through the whole process. So it is a bit more watered down, the Premier League. It might not be as fun for you, but it is still quite cool. It's a place that I don't go to because it's Australia. The quality ain't great. I think they have weird rules there as well. So that's just got rid of all that. Yeah, so we're going to now jump forward to 2030. The same as the Premier League, but all just in one episode. Let's keep it crammed in. But while I'm here, I've definitely upgraded finances for Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, China, Korea, and Japan. I couldn't be bothered with Iran. So it should hopefully make, continental football a bit more fun. But again, you could be Australia if you wanted. Their team's going to get better over the years, and this league should grow over the years. So should we find out? So here we are now. It's the 1st of July 2030. We're just going to have a quick look at how things have worked. Now, one of the reasons I ended up using the American Premier League dates was because I had the same issue there. You get the odd day wrong on a cup competition or the league, and when you can play 2 or 3 years, and a season will disappear. It won't disappear. You won't have any league games for a whole year, and then it just kicks back in. And through a bit of research, I found out that that's when you get a few of your dates wrong, and it was happening on this, so that's why I copied them dates. But let's just have a quick look at who's won what and see how it's working. So as we can see, Melbourne City have been pretty good, to be fair. Well, into Phoenix I've got in there. I like that a lot. When it comes to the Australian FA Cup, some good mixtures. Melbourne Victory got a few. Newcastle Jets, I like it. And of course the Community Shield, which as we all know is just a league winner versus the cup winner at the start of the season. On to the Champions League, and that's what I love. See, well into Phoenix, they're now playing in a top league. They're not, getting robbed of playing continental football like the rest of the teams at that level. And they went back to back 4 times. I mean, you can see by some of the teams though, I know it's dominated there by Australian/New Zealand teams, but at least some of the other guys are getting to the final, giving them a game. When it comes to the AFC Cup, Western Sydney, Perth, they've won 1. Wow, so this is still dominated by the rest of Asia. So we're going to look at Melbourne City, and mainly because they've done really well domestically. And I just had a quick look. They've had some managers. Pep Guardiola, as we know, started there. Then Jose got a job. Check him out. Then Jurgen Klopp went in, got sacked, even though he won the league. Anyway, and then Vincent Kompany's there now. He's won the Champions League and the league. So if we look at their scheduling, and we'll look at a few maybe, but you can see here, look, you get a few friendlies. The playoffs are going to kick in if you need to be in the playoffs. And then the group stage will start when your league starts. And that's your first half of the season. If you're not in the Champions League or anything, you'll just be playing league games. All the way past Christmas, and then the FA Cup will start, and at the back end of the season you've got the Champions League. Now I did try and get the dates to marry so everything finished perfectly at the end, but the Champions League will overcarry because it just kept skipping a season, and it's just trial and error, and this works. We're going on to Perth Glory's scheduling, just so you can see the Community Shield is the first major game of the proper season. Champions League will kick in, and then the league. So yeah, obviously they didn't get all the way till the end, did they, on this year? No. But I think it works. And again, I think it's quite cool. Cool logos, kits, places you might not have played Football Manager often. For me, the complete opposite side of the world. I mean, I love the idea of Australia. I just don't like big snakes, big spiders, and kangaroos. So it's no place for me. Plus the sun. Have you ever watched Neighbours or Home and Away? When you see all the old people in them TV shows in Australia, they look like my granny's old leather couch. We're not built for it. I'm not built for that kind of weather. I'm not. And it's so far away. I don't know if I'll ever go, but it looks beautiful. It looks nice. I like Australians, so just not when the cricket's on. No, don't like them then. So of course, Alex Ferguson did his 1 year. Didn't win anything on this one though, but it looks like a lot of these top managers stay here and they all switch clubs. Has anyone managed to stay though? Or has everyone got sacked and had about 5 jobs? There's Eric Ten Hag, so that means he has. So yeah, Poch got sacked. Benitez got sacked. Julian! He has kept his job for 8 years and won nothing. Why? Don't know. A few changes there. You can see some of the similar names popping around though, can't you? Has anyone else done a Julian? He didn't do bad, so he left that job. He left Hamilton, didn't he? Simeone went. Obviously we know about that one. Look at that. I like it. Did I also see Gabriel Heinze? Will Still. I give the kid a chance. Again, he hasn't won anything. Never been sacked. Maybe that gives you an idea that them 2 clubs are good to work for, because it's going to be the same save file as I'm using here. And what I did with staff, I cleared it off. The only staff I kept were the managers, which means the computer will create a few staff for you and a whole new board with a whole new mentality that I don't know what they're going to be like, do I? Some of these are going to be sack happy, some of them might not, and this might give you an indication if we will give you time to win something. Eddie Howe, I mean, he's won 4 cups, so he's still at Newcastle. I had to put him there. Is that it? I think that might be it. Is it it? It is it. That is it. So there's a couple of them have stuck it out. Wow. Now I couldn't show you the start because none had happened, but we do have awards and I put a few little extra ones in, and I might add more to the APL when I do little extras, possibly on holiday. So we've got Goalkeeper of the Year, we've got Golden Glove, Defender of the Year, Midfielder of the Year, Golden Boot, Manager of the Year, Player of the Year, Team of the Year. I've also got Australian Player of the Year. So anyone who's Australian gets their own little award. They're not competing with all these great superstar foreigners. But then I've also got a Foreign Player of the Year. Quite like that. I might do that with the APL. The Manager of the Year, though, no idea why. The first season, it won't work. Even though the dates are the same, the editor sometime, I don't get it. But the Manager Awards kick in from 2024. But they do work eventually. And if we go over to the rules quickly, you can see how the qualification for the Champions League has massively improved. The prize money's dropped. It kind of equals itself out over the years with the editor. But you can see down to 4th now. Not just one spot anymore in a qualifying group. It looks like 1, 2, 3 go straight into the group stages now. So it's grown. Reputation's grown. The quality's there. So that does get much better. And that changed, and I don't know why. So it was originally, you won the Australian FA Cup at the beginning. You got into the AFC. Whereas now you're getting into the AFC Champions League group stage, so it does get better. So there we go, that is the end of the Australian Super League. Nothing majorly fancy, no little intro story. I'm not doing 2 episodes, just putting it into one for you. Something I've just built over the last couple of days. I really enjoyed doing this one though, to be fair. Less headaches than the American Premier League. But again, just something I put out there that you can download, have a bit of fun. You'll find a link down below in the description. You'll find a download link to my graphics pack as well. And I just hope you enjoy it. Get involved in the comments. Let me know what you think. As always, thanks for joining me. Your views are the most important thing. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell. I might have a couple of stories coming out before I go on holiday, and then I'm going to have a nice big break in France. But as always, stay happy, stay safe. I appreciate you. And let me know what you think. Something different, innit? Have fun. See you next time.